Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation. My name is Janine Donnelly. I am the Manager of Webinars for IBM Systems Magazine, and I will be the moderator for today's event. Today's webinar, Mainframe Virtual Tape That's Flexible and Affordable, is sponsored by Optica Technologies. Our featured speakers today are Sean Seitz and Serge Rioux. Sean is the Vice President of Technical Services at Optica and is responsible for technical sales, services delivery, and product support worldwide. Sean has over 25 years of mainframe experience in various executive positions, including technical sales and support, product management, business development, and consulting services. Serge is a senior product engineer with Optica. He has over 30 years of mainframe experience with mainframe tape solutions, tape operations, and security. Optica's virtual tape products serve the needs of the most demanding mainframe data centers around the world. Today, Sean and Serge will share real-world customer experiences and demonstrate the package's unprecedented flexibility. With our introduction complete, Sean, I'll turn the presentation over to you.
Thank you, Janine. I appreciate it very much. And thanks to you and Connie and the rest of the staff at IBM Systems Magazine for the professional support. We very much appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who's taken the time to join us today on the live webinar. We know that your time is valuable, and we appreciate it very much that you've joined us. So first, I'd like to just review the agenda and what we're going to cover today. First, I'm going to provide a very high-level background for the company Optica. We have a bit of a unique heritage that you might find interesting, especially if you're a longtime mainframer. We'll review, of course, what we're here to talk about mainly, and that is the zVT family of products. Pardon me, I skipped a point there. We're going to quickly talk about the market for mainframe virtual tape and essentially the justification for Optica getting into the market of mainframe virtual tape. Then we're going to talk about the products. We're going to overview the complete family. We have several offerings within the family, and we'll detail those. Talk about, of course, the features and the value of the product, also design considerations, specifically for data availability, and then, of course, migration and migration methodologies and considerations. That tends to be a top-of-mind topic for any company or enterprise that's introducing virtual tape. How am I getting from A to B? So we'll talk about some of those strategies and methodologies. Then I'll provide a quick customer perspective from a customer that has very recently implemented the product. We will then turn it over to Serge Rioux, and Serge is going to do a live demonstration of the product with the intention of demonstrating ease of use, ease of setup, and some of the unique policy-based management features that we have integrated in the zVT solution. And then we'll summarize, wrap up. I'll fill you in on a couple upcoming Optica events, and then we want to definitely leave time for your questions, and so 8 or 10 minutes at the end to answer any questions you may have. So please, as you think about those questions, go ahead and capture them in the Q&A box if you would, and we'll address those at the end of today's presentation. So by way of Optica background, Optica's been in business for almost 50 years. And for half of those 50, for about 25 years, we focus solely on mainframe solutions. So we are mainframers through and through. We have a deep heritage in mainframe and providing solutions to the mainframe customer. So we understand the mainframe customer. We know what the mainframe customer expects, and frankly, we're very good at it. We, as I mentioned, were focused exclusively on IBM mainframe solutions starting somewhere in the mid-'80s when we introduced a line of bus and tag channel switches. And if you've been around a little while, you certainly remember the bus and tag switching products, right? Everybody had them to share their parallel devices between multiple mainframes. So we actually competed with IBM themselves, who had the 2914 and 3814. We competed with Data Switch, T-Bar. Some of those names I'm sure ring a bell. So we were right in the middle of mainframe infrastructure with bus and tag switching in the 80s and through the 90s. it was actually about mid-90s, 1995 or so, we introduced the first protocol converter from Optica. And that was a converter that took the SCON protocol, fiber-based obviously, back to parallel bus and tag. So after IBM had introduced their intention to phase out bus and tag connectivity, we developed a protocol converter. And of course, at the time in the mid-90s, IBM was a huge manufacturer of those protocol converters. They had their own 9034 that was affectionately known as the muffler product. It looked like a muffler on your car. So we made a lookalike product to the 9034 from IBM in the mid-90s. And it was about 2002, IBM actually decided they wanted to get out of the manufacturing business of those protocol converters, and they contacted Optica as one of a handful of companies who had developed a lookalike product. And they asked us if we would be the exclusive provider of those because they were going to exit the business. So obviously we took advantage of that opportunity, and we've been the exclusive provider to IBM Z-Systems and Z-Systems customers for protocol conversion since 2002. So that initial product was known as FLEXIBLITY, and that's the product that took the SCON interface and converted it back to bus and tag for those who were still leveraging the legacy parallel devices and wanted to attach them to SCON-only mainframes in the 2000s. Of course, we shipped many, many of those, I think in excess of 25,000 of those FLEXIBLITY converters. We also private labeled a converter to CNT at the time. If you remember CNT, the channel extension folks in Minneapolis, they were eventually purchased by McData, and then McData purchased by Brocade. But we private labeled an FLEXIBLITY or a converter to CNT that they called the NSBT. So you may have used one of our converters in conjunction with the USDX product from CNT back in the day. The follow-on protocol converter was, of course, a FICON to SCON converter, and that was a need that arose when IBM was looking to phase out SCON chipids on the mainframe. So obviously IBM did not want to manufacture that solution themselves. We were the obvious partner to do so. So they requested that we create a FICON to SCON converter as the next generation, which we did. That product's known as Prism. It's been available for more than 10 years, and we have hundreds and hundreds of Prism converters implemented in the largest data centers around the globe. So customers today can invest in the latest mainframe technology that is FICON only, and they can actually connect not only SCON devices to the FICON only mainframe, but also bus and tag devices. So if you're doing that today, you're doing that with Optica protocol conversion solutions. And between the two products, FLEXIBLITY and Prism, we'd venture to say that we've been in almost all mainframe data centers at one point or another. So you're probably familiar with the name and hopefully with the quality product. So suffice to say that we know mainframe infrastructure, right, and we've developed the skills to not only engineer the products but to support the products. And then through that process, especially in dealing with protocol conversion, we've developed a very strong knowledge of tape. Approximately 75% of the devices that are attached to our protocol converters are tape devices or devices that behave like tape. So we have a very deep knowledge of tape, tape emulation, and tape operations that we've gained. So it was a logical extension for the next product to be a virtual tape product, which is what we're going to talk about, the zVT family of products. So that family of products has been shipping since January of last year, and we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about the various offerings within the family. But suffice to say, I hope that Optica has earned the trust of the mainframe customer with the quality of our products, the quality of our service, and the quality of our support. Okay, so the mainframe virtual tape market is relatively small in comparison to the overall virtual tape market, right? And although there are various estimates on the actual size of the mainframe virtual tape market, one analyst recently estimated that it was about a $550 million market annually. And so even if it's somewhat larger than that, sub $1 billion is a relatively small market size. there happen to be three dominant players that have been around for a long time in this space that we're all familiar with. IBM, Oracle, and EMC are the predominantly big players in the space, right? They all offer an excellent product. They all offer a product that is targeted at the very upper part of the enterprise customer. It's a complex and costly solution, all excellent products, but certainly they've targeted the high end of the mainframe customer base. So we recognize that there's an opportunity, not only because of the price point associated with those solutions in most cases, but also the complexity to actually install and use those products. Further, those vendors tend to lock you into their storage. So we wanted to bring an offering to market that offered a little bit more flexibility and certainly a value from a price versus performance perspective. So that is essentially why we entered the market. There's obviously several other players involved that play in this market space, but the predominant players certainly have targeted that high end of the market, and we're looking to satisfy the customer requirements and the customer demands for that rest of that market space. So our products have been focused on several things: easy to implement, easy to manage. We want to be flexible in that we want to offer the ability to use a variety of storage options as the repository behind the zVT appliance. And we want to make it so that it's scalable. You can start small and you can scale to much larger, more complex configurations. Okay, I'm having trouble advancing. There we go. Apologize. Let me. Okay, sorry about that. So the family of products, I wanted to start by outlining the attributes of the family, because we've always focused on these 5 tenets with all of our products, going back to the bus and tag switching offering through protocol conversion and now virtual tape. Reliability is obviously a key attribute that's required. If you don't have a reliable product, you're not going to make it in the mainframe world. So clearly, we knew we had to have a very reliable solution. The product, the zVT, is built on a third-generation hardware platform. It actually leverages the same exact hardware platform that our Prism converter has for the last several years. It's a third-generation hardware platform. It's actually an IBM/Lenovo branded 2U server. It's a well-known, widely distributed hardware platform, and we've been using it for quite a while across Prism and zVT, so it's a proven hardware solution. Our products are, of course, in the most demanding data centers globally, and we also have earned the status of being a strategic partner to the System Z division, and in fact, the Z Systems Group in Poughkeepsie, New York, actually very much supported our decision to get into the virtual tape space, as they recognize the need for more vendors to address the needs of the customers. Compatibility is the second attribute. We thought it was very important that we use an industry standard file format with zVT. So we use an AWS file format. It's completely non-proprietary. We have support. We offer support with the product across all operating systems, ZOS, ZVM, and VSE. The product itself emulates the 2 primary tape emulation modes, 3490 and 3590. And we've also tested and integrated with all the leading tape backup applications and tools. So that's an important attribute, that we're compatible with what you're already using. Scalability and resiliency. We offer the multi-node configuration support. We offer support for the advanced features that everyone's storage incorporates today, such as deduplication, replication, and encryption. And we actually can scale in terms of capacity all the way to a petabyte of storage within a single cabinet. Okay, world-class service and support is frankly what Optica has built our reputation on. We have enjoyed a status with customers and frankly with IBM of offering top-notch support, and we are continuing that that legacy with the zVT product, starting with planning and design services, configuring and implementing the product, migration services and tools, and of course, knowledge transfer and education while we're implementing the product. That's always included with every transaction is the skills and the education. The technical support and maintenance is always a priority. We, in fact, partner with IBM for support of the product. So in North America, we leverage IBM for our hands and feet. So in the unlikely event that you experience a hardware problem or a defect that requires a part replacement, we actually dispatch the part, but we also dispatch an IBM CE to come on site at your location to swap the part on our behalf. So the same technician that's supporting your mainframe is likely going to be the technician that would respond to support the zVT in the event of a hardware action. Okay, and then ultimately satisfaction guarantee is a big tenet for Optica. So we stand behind our products, and certainly if it doesn't meet your expectations, then that product can be returned with no obligation. That's always been a tenet of ours. Okay, let's talk about the family of products. So we offer 3 offerings. We have an entry-level solution known as the 3000i. And this is just that. It's the entry-level solution. It's an all-in-one product. So it actually has onboard storage, 4 terabytes of internal RAID storage in it. So it's an all-inclusive solution. So it's perfect for replacement of an older virtual tape solution, for example, or even replacement of a physical tape environment like a 3490 or 3590 tape replacement. So it's an ideal entry-level solution. You can also, using rsync, you can set up replication to a remote site between multiple 3000Is. The next offering we call 5000 Flex, and this is the solution that gives you, the customer, the flexibility to leverage your own investment in storage. So if you have an existing investment in NFS storage or fiber channel storage, you can use it with the 5000 Flex. So this is the ultimate in flexibility for you. And we've, so far in the early life of the zVT, we've integrated with all the major storage providers. So we have customers using HP storage, IBM, EMC, NetApp, Dell. So any storage that you're using currently can be leveraged with the 5000 Flex. This unit will attach to the mainframe via FICON or SCON. We offer license support up to 256 virtual tape drives on this unit. We can do it granularly, starting at 16 virtual tape drives all the way up to 256. Okay. As far as back-end storage connectivity, it comes standard with 1 gig ports, but you can optionally add 10 gig ports or fiber channel ports for your storage connectivity, depending on what you need. And then, of course, the product supports the features of deduplication, replication, and encryption that your storage systems will have incorporated. Okay? So this, again, is a perfect solution for customers with requiring a flexible solution that's scalable and allows them to take advantage of their existing investment in open system storage. Finally is the 5000 iNAS. And this is for customers looking for integrated storage with the zVT. So it's a bundled solution, combines zVT and NFS storage. Our initial bundle leverages the NEC HydroStore storage. We will be announcing additional bundles with different storage offerings, but the first bundle for the iNAS is NEC HydroStore. Okay. So likewise, it'll support 2 FICON interfaces. You can license up to 256 virtual drives per zVT, and you can connect it via 1 gig or 10 gig Ethernet because the NEC product is NFS storage. As I mentioned earlier, you can scale up to a single petabyte of raw storage in a single frame, and of course, deduplication, replication, encryption feature set is all incorporated in that. So if you're interested in an integrated solution where you have from a single vendor the whole package, including the storage, the 5000 iNAS is what you'd be looking for. Okay, a little bit more detail on the product itself. Talked a little bit about mainframe connectivity already. Predominantly, we're shipping FICON versions of the zVT where it comes with two FICON interfaces. We have had some need for SCON still, believe it or not, predominantly in Japan, but the unit has an optional SCON interface. It comes with four SCON interfaces on it if you require SCON. We can license up to 256 virtual tape drives, as mentioned, in the increments shown, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, and 256. The value there is it allows us to really get to a price point that meets your needs. So we license in these increments so that if you have a smaller need, for example, you're not paying for 256 virtual drives when you're using 8 or 16. So it gives us the ability to provide excellent value to you by licensing just the number of virtual drives that you require. As I mentioned before, we support connectivity in ZOS, ZVSE, and VM environments, and we have customers across that spectrum. As far as storage connectivity, the standard interface comes with it's a 1 gig Ethernet connectivity, 2 ports. You can optionally add 10 gig ports or fiber channel ports as well. And, of course, the internal storage model, the 3000i, is just that internal storage, so you don't have external storage port connectivity on that model. We're going to show you in the live demonstration the policy engine that is a bit unique to the zVT. Serge is going to demonstrate that in our unique way of managing the product. The product has a web-based GUI, but you can also fully manage and monitor the product via CLI commands and JCL. Okay, so your choice, any of the above. We're going to talk to you about an LTO tape support feature that we have very recently introduced. I'll get into a little bit more detail on that later. We have the support for multi-node active-active configurations for availability consideration. And somewhat uniquely, we do CRC, block-level CRC checking in the product. So not every vendor provides that, but from a data integrity perspective, we feel it's important. So we've integrated CRC checking into the product. As I mentioned before, the product emulates 3490 and 3590 tape. In many cases, if we're replacing, whether it's physical or an older virtual tape solution, we can configure the product such that a gen change isn't even required. So it covers the main 2 and 3490 and 3590. Very important point, we utilize a non-proprietary file format, AWS file format. And so we found in migrating customers to zVT, not all virtual tape solutions offer non-proprietary file formats. So we feel like that's an important attribute. It's your data. We want you to have an open file format when you're using zVT. I mentioned the advanced features of storage. zVT supports all of the above: replication, dedupe, compression, encryption. We look to the storage node for those features. And so if you're leveraging, for example, NetApp storage today and you already have replication set up between your production and DR sites, you drop in zVT and that replication that's existing is fully supported. Okay? And very importantly, we have many testing partners. So all of the industry-leading tape management vendors, such as IBM, CE, Innovation, DTS Software, for example, we have in our lab. So we're technology partners with all of these companies to make sure that zVT functions seamlessly with these tape applications. Okay, I mentioned the LTO tape feature. This actually was by customer request. We had a customer in Japan and also a customer in the U.S. who both requested the ability to import-export volumes to an LTO tape cartridge. So we have implemented a feature that is available that allows you to share data with customers and partners or archive specific tape volumes using Open Systems LTO tape drives. So we feel like that's an interesting request. We feel like that's something that customers are going to be requesting more. It provides an inexpensive and flexible means to share data with partners and customers, for example. So this feature is available, and it's functional and controlled, I should say, through the GUI, through CLI or JCL. So you can actually control this feature any of those three ways. I would like to take a pause, and I failed to mention when I was running over the agenda that we have inserted a couple of poll questions. And these are just to encourage audience participation in a fun way and to collect a little bit of information. And then we'll play back the results for you as it might be interesting to you. But the first poll question has actually been populated over here on the right side in the panel of your screen here that you can see. And so I'll go ahead and read this question. And if you are an end user in particular, we encourage your participation to answer, and then we'll share the results once everything's compiled. So essentially, an IBM storage executive has recently indicated that 90% of Fortune 500 companies are still using physical tape somewhere in their enterprise, right? Enterprise-wide, 90%. So our question is, do you still use physical tape in your mainframe environment, right? We're finding that most customers that are running mainframes are still using physical tape in their mainframe environment. We're curious. So we'd like to hear from you. There's three choices here, and I'll go ahead and move forward to the next slide, and then we'll come back and talk about the results once they're compiled. Okay, this slide is really to demonstrate how the zVT can fit into your environment considering data availability and high availability of your data, right? So there's a couple different categories of data availability. There's host and infrastructure related that most of you are well familiar with. You've been used to managing those aspects for years and years in your mainframe world, right, where you're talking about having multiple LPAR access. You're talking about being able to have multiple chipids accessing your devices. You're talking about having a switch fabric that's resilient and provides no single point of failure. So all those things obviously play into in our considerations for designing a virtual tape solution that's highly available. But the other category is the virtual tape layer and the storage layer, right? So there's some considerations in that layer that are important to consider when you're investing in virtual tape. So zVT fully supports multi-node, right, which is essentially allowing multiple zVTs to access the same file system, the same virtual tapes in an active-active scenario. So that's fully supported and available. And then Ethernet port bonding and multi-path fiber channel, those are essentially similar in concept depending on which style of storage you're using. But essentially that bonds the ports together and allows you to perform load balancing between those ports and failover functionality between those ports, whether it's NFS or fiber channel based. So finally, replication. Obviously, replication is extremely important to disaster recovery and data availability. And as we talked, most of our customers are implementing replication between a production site and a DR site where they have a standby copy of their data, and they're using replication, whether it be synchronous replication or asynchronous, right? Synchronous being real-time replication. As soon as it's written to the production unit, it's copied to the remote DR unit. Or asynchronous, where you have more of a scheduled replication, right? It's based on user-defined scheduling and when you're replicating the data. So we have the poll results here. Let me just address those very quickly. So it looks like pretty even split between the three answers. So are you using physical tape in your mainframe environment? The first answer was yes, and we intend to keep physical tape long-term. 37% of the respondents said they were going to keep the tape long-term. Yes, but our goal is to eliminate the physical tape, 30%, and then no, we're already tapeless, another 33%. So an interesting, pretty even split there between yes, we have it and we're going to keep it, yes, we have it, but we're going to eliminate, and we've already eliminated. So that's it's interesting feedback. Thank you for your participation there. Okay, so obviously when you invest in a virtual tape solution, the very first thing that comes to mind, generally speaking, from our experience is how are you going to get me from my existing environment to my new zVT environment? So there's some key considerations and methodologies involved in that process, right? So So we have some good experience already early in the product line here in supporting these migrations and supporting them successfully. As far as different ways to migrate, there's really host-based, which is the predominant industry standard way to migrate from physical tape or from another virtual tape solution to a new virtual tape solution. But there's also a way that we can do it that offers a level of efficiency within the zVT. First, the host-based migration utilities. We have already extensive experience leveraging several of the predominant industry tools. So DTS Software offers a product that they have created and customized for the Optica zVT that they call zVT Control Center, ZCC. And within the ZCC portfolio of tools, there's a product that they call zVT Clone, and it offers a very efficient means to migrate from an existing environment to the zVT. IDP Innovation, I think it's a very popular set of tools, so most of you are very familiar with IDP. We're partners with IDP, and we've helped customers migrate using their tool known as FATScopy. IBM offers a tool known as Ditto that's targeted at the VM VSE world. So you may be familiar with that if you're a VM VSE person. We've used Ditto quite a bit. IBM also offers other migration utilities that are very easy to use when you're migrating using the mainframe. I mentioned the zVT migration utility. Very importantly, this is a utility that can be used and is very efficient, and customers have really liked using this method, but it's available and compatible only with other virtual tape systems that utilize a pure AWS file format. So if we're coming from, for example, a BusTech MDL or even an EMC DLM that's a little bit of an older product, we found that those solutions are using a pure AWS non-proprietary file format. So our migration utility is an excellent choice and a very efficient way to migrate from the old environment to the new. But I also have to caution that some of the newer DLM solutions with the newer software incorporate a technology for deduplication known as AMDD, where the header is actually customized to be and it basically makes the file format a proprietary format. So if it is a DLM that we're migrating from, and it's a newer version with newer microcode, chances are that it may be a non-proprietary file format whereby the migration utility would not be usable. And then from a strategies and considerations perspective, really there's a couple different ways, primary ways that you can migrate, right? Obviously you can do it online. This is a little bit of a careful planning exercise if you're interested in migrating from an old environment to a new while you're still doing tape processing. It requires that careful planning. We have had customers do this. We've helped them through that process, through the planning and execution of that. In some cases, customers have essentially set up parallel environments. So they're still using their old environment, but they also have implemented zVT in a parallel situation, and they're actually pointing specific applications at the zVT as a new target, and they're taking a gradual approach to migration. So that's one way. And then obviously you can do it completely offline, in which case you're going to schedule a maintenance window or an outage where you take tape processing offline and you do a kind of the big bang, you do the flash cut and migrate within that window. So obviously you have to do some planning in that case as well. Make sure that your window is large enough to accommodate the method that you're using as well as the amount of data that you're migrating. Okay? Okay, so I wanted to provide a quick customer perspective. So this customer happens to be a brand new customer. They've implemented zVT in their production and DR environments approximately 3 months ago. Happens to be based in Germany. It's a manufacturing company, and we didn't get specific permission to use their name. They don't offer that ability to be a reference specifically, but we're able to reference the fact that we partnered with our reselling partner in Germany, SVA, who's a value-added reseller of zVT and has done a very good job with zVT in Germany for us. So we worked very closely with SVA to to sell and implement this particular customer. So by way of an outline, their existing environment was running ZOS, so ZOS environment. They're using currently an IBM SAN volume controller fiber channel-based storage system. They're using RMM as tape for their tape management, and they're currently replicating between a production and a DR site. And they're running the BusTech MDL currently when we sold the product. Their criteria and their requirements for this evaluation were very simple. It had to support the existing investment in storage, so the 5,000 Flex product from Optica was a perfect fit that way. They could continue to leverage their IBM storage. They wanted to be able to store the volumes in a 100% industry standard, non-proprietary AWS file format. They wanted to be able to configure an active production site that replicates to the standby DR site. They wanted to make sure that it was compatible with their RMM tape system. They needed to obviously connect it via FICON, and they wanted to have a trusted partner. They wanted to be able to work well and closely with a partner that was responsive and knowledgeable and offered quality support. And then finally, price performance was extremely important to them. So let's have a look at the actual configuration that we implemented. So as I mentioned, this was an MDL replacement. There was a production site and a DR site. We dropped in the zVTs in each location, seamlessly integrated with the IBM storage, SAN volume controller storage. They were able to continue leveraging the replication configuration they were previously using with the BusTech MDL. They happened to invest in 32 virtual tape drives. They had about 10 terabytes of back-end storage, so not a large capacity requirement necessarily, but they also emulated 3590 with the zVT units. Okay, and then finally, for the results or their final perspective and experience was very positive. So they were able to convert seamlessly from the MDL to the zVT, the 5,000 Flex model. They were able to continue using the back-end storage without any impact to their operations. Their operators were very pleased with that. They were able to continue replicating as they were before, no change to that environment and setup. We were able to write a custom Linux script that helped in their migration. They did use the zVT migration utility, and with the script, it was a very efficient migration. They were able to complete that in a flash cut format over a Saturday maintenance window. It all was completed successfully. And we were there on site with them, and they were very pleased with our on-site support as well as our ongoing remote support since the initial configuration. So they were very happy, and they were willing to give us a quote, which we've included here, that Optica and SVA were very responsive to their needs throughout the project, and that the zVT solution was a good fit or a perfect fit for their environment. So we had this is very typical of our engagements. We do go on site for every engagement at this point. We offer the services to make sure the product is completely configured and set up to use in your environment. We do on-site training, in many cases, multiple sessions of training to accommodate all of your shifts and operator staff. And we make sure that you're satisfied before we leave. So that's a very typical customer engagement. Okay, actually I have another poll question, and I think Connie's ahead of me here. She's already populated or is populating here the second poll question, so I'd encourage your participation. Basically, we'd like to know, how do you feel about leveraging your existing investment in open system storage, whether it's NFS or fiber channel, as part of your mainframe virtual tape strategy? So how open are you to leveraging your existing tape as a repository for mainframe virtual tape? We'd be interested in your answer. And so we'll give you about 20 or 30 seconds to provide a response, and we'll review those answers here momentarily. And in the meantime, I'm going to introduce Serge Rioux. Serge is a senior technical specialist. He's traveled the world implementing zVT, and we're going to take a few minutes and show you the ease of setup and configuration, and in particular our policy engine for zVT in a live demonstration. So let me just give Connie a few seconds here to populate the results, hopefully from our poll question, and then I'll turn it officially over to Serge for the live demo. So if you haven't already submitted your response to the question, please go ahead and do that quickly, and we will see what kind of results we get. Okay, so again, about half and half. It looks like 57% have indicated that they like the flexibility and would seriously consider leveraging existing storage, whereby about 43% would prefer to acquire a fully integrated solution that includes the storage with the virtual tape. So we certainly understand both perspectives, and we've had the ability to sell both into multiple customers in both ways. So we appreciate that feedback. That's interesting to see. So at this point, I would like to turn it over to Serge Ryu and to do a live demonstration of the product. Serge?
Thank you, Sean. We'll just give me 1 second here, Sean. You'll have to pass me the ball. Thank you. So we will go through a very quick demonstration of configuration of the zVT, and functionality through the GUI interface. Standard GUI, web-based GUI interface. Once you've logged in, you land in the network page, which is the first page you see. There is where you would configure your network to access the unit once it's installed. We'll just step through some of those very quickly and stop on the more important point. User account is where you would create your users and manage them. Time and date, set your time and date according to your time zone and area. And when you get to define devices, the devices are defined, as probably most of you know, on the mainframe as standard 34 or 3590 devices. In this case here, I've got a range of devices from FOX000 for a range of 16 devices that have been defined on my system. This is just a quick example of what an IODF would look like for those devices. Once your devices have been defined on the mainframe, you can come to the zVT and actually add them very quickly. You'll see this is one of our test units, so it already has 256 minus 16 device defined. But just to show you how easy and quick it is to add devices, I will go ahead and add the 16 devices I just showed you a minute ago. So we add devices FOX000. And what I will do is, one of the functionalities of the zVT is to support multiple libraries. So you can segregate your devices or share your devices within either different LPARs or different groups within an organization. So the libraries allow you to share those devices with given groups of users or different libraries. So I will configure those in 2 groups of 8 devices. So first range of 8, the CUAD is 0, the unit address is 0. I will keep them as 3490s and add them to library 1. So you see now I have my new devices added here. I will go ahead and add my second set of devices, again for a range of 8 on the same CUAD. Unit address this time will start at 8 because the first 8 have been used. And I'll put these, in library 2. Now I've just added my 16 devices, each group of 8 in its own library. So when I go to define tapes in the policy manager, only the first 8 devices will have access to tapes in library 1, and only the second 8 would have access to the tapes in library 2. Next step would be to define your storage, your mount point. In my case, my unit is actually a fiber channel unit. I've leveraged my storage. I have 4 lungs that have been given to me, and it's very straightforward. Again, there, all I will do is go in and I can add, as you can see here, those are block devices. So I have SDB, SDC, and SDD that have already been used. I can go ahead and add, I will call it SC store 4, and add it to library 24 in my case, because I've already a large number of them defined, and I will add SDE, one as my block device. There's maintenance that can be done if you want to set a warning when your storage gets full, if you want to set a recovery and the amount of recovery you want to do in that storage. So that's more for keeping your storage within a usable limit there. What we would do is if the storage gets full, we can go and delete the oldest scratch tapes to recover some space. So we'll just go ahead and add that. So once you've got your devices defined and your mount points created, you can just go to your policy manager. And as you can see, library 0 is a default library. I don't have anything in here, but I can go into library 1. And I've already defined a few things in here. I have a set of 10 scratch tapes that are defined and a command tape. I'll talk about the command tape in a few minutes. Again, from the policy manager is where you manage everything from a tape perspective. You can view the range. In this case, I'll view this range here, a small product range, so you can see all the tapes are scratched in this range for now. You could also, if you would like, if you have a larger range of tape or you're looking for something in particular, you can search within that range and you can get more information about each one of the tapes that is in that range. In our case here, you see that the tape CMD00 has been used already for a test and give you all the information on that tape. If you want to add a policy, very straightforward, we'll just add a group called SCR000. I'll make it a range of 10. I will add that to library 1 and make them as scratch tapes. Now, these tapes are now part of the total scratch pool. So they're with the PRD00, they've been added as part of that scratch pool. And it's very straightforward. This is basically how you would get your unit up and running. It's very quick, very easy. Now, if we go back to the mainframe, we can vary those devices. I'll just use the first 4 for now. Oops, sorry. Get those online. And then we can quickly go back here. Now that our devices are online, we can also use what is called a command tape to interact with the zVT. As Sean mentioned earlier, we also have a CLI interface. So from, as you can see below here, I have a scrolling console of the zVT. And you could, from there, it's a standard Linux operating system, you could use CLI commands to also configure the zVT. What we can do as well is through JCL, we can control the zVT as well and do what we need to do for maintenance purposes. In this case here, if you look at this one, I will use the command tape that I created earlier, command 00, and send a command down to zVT to create a Volsier range called SCR00 for a range of 8, but this time I will put it in the second library. This is allowed because each library is separate. Library 0 is for the first group of devices. Library 1 is for the second. So I can go ahead and just submit that job here. And as you can see, the command tape has been mounted and unmounted below. And if I go back to my zVT, go to the second library, you can see now that I do have those 8 scratch tapes that have been added. So anything you can do from the GUI can also be done from the zVT command line. Now to show you quickly as well, I can just here, this very quick job. We'll just run the first 4 devices that I put online. We'll write a few lines of data on 4 different tapes, just 4 different jobs to show you quickly here. Once you've done that, to go back here and again give you more details. Those are in Library 1. And we can now view the range here and see that the 4 tapes are now data tapes, different size because I've added a little bit more data to each one of the tapes just to show the difference here. And from there, once you have your tapes in your system, you can, if you have a data tape that needs to be scratched, you can go to Data here, select the tape you would like to scratch, and scratch it here. Or if you need to mount the tape on a specific device, a data tape on the device, you can also use the mount there as well. Again, the scratch a very nice utility to have. You will see here that these devices, those are the 4 tapes I've just used here in that library. It allows you, you can sort by Valsier when you click on the column or data type or tape type, sorry. So it's a very nice little utility that's built in the zVT. I believe I will have to end here to give Sean a bit more time to finish. But as you can see, it is very, very straightforward and easy to configure zVT.
Okay, Serge, thank you very much, and apologies that I squeezed you on time a little bit there. I know you were a bit rushed. Thank you for that, Serge. I hope that helped to demonstrate the ease of use, the ease of setup for and management of the product. I want to leave a couple of minutes for Q&A if there are any questions, but in summary, the presentation today was designed to provide a very high-level introduction to the product. Hopefully, we've been able to demonstrate that we offer a very flexible range of solutions, whether it's entry-level with the 3000i, the Flex solution that allows you to leverage your own investment in storage, or an integrated package, the 5000i NAS. If you're interested in additional information, we have a couple of, let me jump ahead here. We have a couple, of course our website is listed here, but we have a page that is the second link shown. And if you have an interest in a design and pricing for the zVT solution, you can go to this page. We call it the zVT design, pricing and design inquiry form. There's a short form you can fill out. It comes right to me and my team, and that's a great way to engage us if you'd like. Otherwise, you see the contact information for Mike Daly and myself here on the last slide. So feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to back up one slide and let you know we're going to be at Edge Conference in Las Vegas next week. If you're going to be there, stop by. We're going to have a drawing. If you mention this webinar, enter into a drawing to win a $100 American Express gift card. And then also in November, we're going to have another webinar that focuses exclusively on a deeper dive on the 5000i NAS solution. So mark your calendars for that if you're interested. And once again, I want to thank everyone for your time, and hopefully we've still got a minute or two here to address a couple of questions. So I'll turn it back over to Janine.
Thanks, Sean. We do have questions. So to our attendees, please continue to enter your question in the Q&A panel. And if we don't have time to get to them all today, someone will reach out to you via email. Okay, first question. How is maintenance and support handled for zVT?
So good question. This is Sean, and I'll take that one. So I mentioned earlier that we offer very strong technical support globally. In the United States, we actually partner with IBM, so IBM serves as our hands and feet. First call is always to Optica. We have 724 staff that will engage with you and begin troubleshooting in the event of an issue. If it is hardware related, again, we leverage IBM, and the IBM CE would respond to replace a part or full unit depending on the issue there. But in summary, we offer a very strong 724 support offering in partnership with IBM.
Okay, here's one. I won't get these acronyms right, but it's interesting. Since the 5000i NAS comes with a 10 GBE for NFS, here's the guts of the question. Does this mean non-mainframe servers like IBM's Power Series running on AIX and TSM could use this virtual tape solution?
Good question. Actually, no. Unfortunately not. So the zVT itself, the 2U appliance, which is the virtualization engine, actually only attaches to the mainframe. So XCon or FICON are the only options for attachment to the host system. So today it's mainframe-based, and so we do leverage open system storage on the back end for the storage repository. But on the front end, it is mainframe connectivity. So this is targeted exclusively at mainframe customers.
Great. And Sean, one of our attendees is wondering if you can go back to the slide with the contact information. That would be great. Next question. How does Optica support zVT when a customer uses their own storage and tape management software?
Okay, so that actually is the majority of our customers. So the majority of zVT customers have invested in the 5000 Flex model, and that's the model that allows them to leverage their own storage. So obviously, that's a very good question, how does support work? Well, if there is a suspected problem in the virtual tape or storage environment, the first call comes to Optica, okay? And we will diagnose the issue. If it is zVT specific or zVT related, we address the problem. If it happens to be, pardon me, if it happens to be storage related, we will basically provide back to the customer our findings and the evidence that we've identified that says that it is a storage or external issue. At that point, the customer engages their normal support model for the storage and the vendor that they're using for storage.
Okay. We have reached the top of the hour, and I know we didn't get to everyone's questions. So just be sure that are comfortable that someone will reach back out to you. And then also, Sean has been generous enough to provide his email address, so you can send him any questions, as well as Michael Daly. Feel free to jot those down and visit those websites that are listed here on our resources page. I want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar, and I especially want to thank Sean and Serge for sharing their expertise with us today. Early next week, we will be sending out a link to a recording of today's webinar to everyone on the call, as well as to anyone who registered but for whatever reason could not attend. That concludes our webinar. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.